Okay. Welcome everybody to the Callahan Training Group podcast. We're going to make sure this is an educational only podcast because the last one, the premiere one, got flagged for inappropriate content. So obviously firearms don't seem to be the favorite of the internet, but as long as this is educational only, educational for sport purposes only, I'm going to go ahead and continue and see how this works. Welcome back again. I'm Sam Callahan. I just wanted to go over my gear and all the stuff that I shoot to do what I do. So I'm a competitive shooter by nature. I say by nature because that's what people really think of me as. That's how I train. But I'm just a performance shooter. I just shoot whatever I need to shoot at the time as most efficiently I can. I have been pretty stubborn about my gear all along the way because I never wanted to use specialized gear. It's a theme in how I train. I don't like to learn, pick up, do anything that is a one-trick pony. I want whatever I learn, whatever equipment I use, whatever it is, to be accessible and usable all the time. I don't want it to be some stupid little tiny 1% thing that I post Instagram highlights of. I want to make sure that everything I'm doing, including my gear, works in all situations, right? So the first thing that I like to talk about is I just want to talk about my gear because it's just a topic I get asked a lot. This is not a my gear is the best. This is not you need this gear to succeed. In fact, this is just what I found that works for me, and that's mostly my opinion for everything is form follows function. You have to have a why to everything. There has to be a function. You have to build your stuff around the why. I had that attitude because I came from three gun, and three gun was interesting because every stage you can run different equipment on your belt. One stage might have all three guns involved. One gun or one stage might just have a single rifle involved. So you switch around and you start to see what is actually necessary. You might come with all the gear, but what do I put on my belt to be most efficient right now? Like, how can I slim down and run the most low vis equipment possible? And I say low vis because that goes right into the other side of things. The guys out there working aren't trying to wear everything and anything on their body to go out and respond to a call. They're trying to be specific about what they bring out for the task at hand. Our task right now that we're going to talk about today is going to be USPSA. I don't even want to say USPSA. I just want to say performance shooting because again, I started in three gun. USPSA was just the pistol version, but PCSL is coming, and we're going to talk about rifles as well today too. So I figured I'll just leave this as performance shooting in general. So the first thing that I like to talk about gear wise, it's always pistol. So my big thing that I've been doing stubbornly my whole life is shooting almost stock Glocks, right? I say almost because as you see here, there is a trigger in this gun, but this is my competition gun. Otherwise, this is just a Glock 45, G45, 9mm, Gen 5, obviously. I don't do anything to the gun when I get it other than throw a dot on top of it. I use Vortex Venom dots. It's my preference. I've been using them since like 2014, 15 on pistols. Yes, since 2014, 15 on pistols. I used to be a machinist. I threw a Glock slide on a CNC machine back way in the day, and I attached a red dot to it. This is the red dot I attached to it because I had one, and I kind of just like it, and I've never gone back. I don't find a reason to. 3 MOA dot, so it's a nice little crisp dot for me to aim with. They last as far as I can push them. The only time I've ever broken them is internally digging around to pull a battery out. I have broken some stuff. It was me. And I have smashed some glass, taken a pretty hard tumble. That also sheared the front sight off when it happened. So yeah, things break. It happens. But otherwise, ironically, oh, is it in my hip? It is. My carry Glock is this. I've been carrying this Gen 3 19, and you can see some similarities in the trigger and the dot on how I carry. So I carry pretty much the same gear all the time. Now, my original Glock 19 still has, I'll say I retired it. The slide is upstairs. It's still got a Vortex Venom on it when I put it in 2016. It's got about 300,000 plus rounds on it live. Hasn't broken, hasn't lost zero. I love it. So I trust Vortex with my life. I carry it, as you can see in my pants. I compete with it all over the world, all over the country. Otherwise, though, the other big modification is the handle it grips. So the cool thing about this is it's really easy to find these guys online. This is an inexpensive modification. I see a lot of guys out there buying parts internally for their gun to reduce recoil. and do all these kinds of things to help their management of the pistol. And I find that this is the number one thing that helps with the management of my pistol and actually building a decent grip on my gun. We're shooting 9mm, so we're not shooting anything like high recoil. You shouldn't really have to tune down your gun to manage recoil and return to zero if we're shooting stock 9mm guns. I get it if you get into major caliber, but that's a different argument entirely. But these guns work, they run, so I'm just increasing the ability to grip it better. I just run the super aggressive sandpaper grips. I like them. If you shoot 1,000 rounds in a weekend, you might feel it a little bit, but that's kind of the point. I want it to stick to me. I have shot rain matches. I just shot Ip002 nationals in the worst conditions of my entire life. I have a YouTube video for the whole nationals. I was shooting through rain where I'm literally just kind of aiming at where I think targets are. Handle it grips were good the whole time. I didn't have a grip issue. I don't use chalk anymore. Boom. That's a big thing I get asked from a lot of people. What's your liquid chalk brand will you use? If I use chalk, it's like dry climbers chalk, and it's only because I'm sweating. It's only because I'm real sweaty. I don't like liquid chalk. I don't like depending on anything because again, I go back to the specific niche equipment thing I was talking about. I'm generally not chalking up before I go do knife training, and I go with the SWAT guys. They're not chalking their hands before they go serve warrants, so I try to train for reality. So my big modifications that you could see though is I take a Glock 45, external modification. Those are my two externals. Internally, boom, that's a Timney Alpha trigger. This is a Gen 5, so this is for the Gen 5 models. They make them for the Gen 3s and 4s too. Actually, in fact, let me go ahead and dual wheel here. This is the enhanced trigger feel shoe, the ETF shoe that they sell. This isn't an entire trigger system. This is simply just a flat face trigger shoe so that the trigger feel is very similar to my competition gun while still remaining safe, while still having all the Glock properties, while still being drop safe and all those things. Not that this isn't drop safe. This just happens to be an incredibly light, beautiful trigger. So that brings me to why do I like this trigger? Stock triggers work great. I have no problem with them. In fact, my backup gun just has a stock trigger sitting in it because it's just bone stock out of we'll call it superstition. Just me. It's just my preferences. But the reason I like this is because the big problem, I don't want to say problem, the big challenge with Glocks is everybody says, well, it's hard to shoot their triggers well. Yeah, I agree. There's reasons behind that. They're a little bit more difficult to shoot. Now, I made it to masterclass with a stock Glock 19. That was my goal. I took a stock Glock 19, no modifications other than a dot, and I drove, not even grip, I drove it into masterclass, and I realized, yeah, to make it up to 85% of the world-class shooters, you don't need to modify the guns. Now, if you want to bridge the gap from 85 to 95%, you want to hit GM, this made a big difference because now all of a sudden, all my precision shots, I could really stage triggers. And if you talk to JJ and you talk to some guys about how they retain accuracy at speed, that's a big deal. It's the fact that I could find that wall as quick as that, I could rest on it, and then I could break it violently because I've staged it and it's a clean break. I'm not breaking that lightly. If I prep it, I can mash that as hard as I want and I get a very accurate shot. Now, I also have come to like flat face triggers because I feel a more consistent grab all along here. So if I don't get my ideal grip, if something goes wrong, I still can use a lot of the same principles that I use. Things don't really change. So this Timney seems to be the only real internal modification that I like and I would recommend if you're trying to bridge the gap to hardcore shooting, right? If you really want a performance gun, if you really want a range specific gun. Now, I shoot G45s now because I really like the snappy return of the 19 size slide. I like the quick pickup, quick return. I always have these conversations with people. My production gun is a Glock 34 because it's a production gun. There are iron sights on it. There is actually such thing as sight radius with iron sights. So I want a longer sight radius. It's my preference for shooting production. I like a 5-inch gun. I realized, well, put a dot on the gun. There's no more sight radius. I want the dot to come back sooner. It comes back sooner with a short slide as long as I grip the gun well. All right, so I started shooting these. I like this. The Glock 45 just gives me a full-size grip and a 19 size slide, which is my preference. That said, I have a pair of these that I shoot for competition. My backups to these are 17s. I have a Glock 17 and a Glock 34 that are set up almost virtually the same. They're just made for range. So one of them has an enclosed optic and a magwell on it, some stuff like that. But pretty simple as far as guns go. Now, big thing I like about this is when I show up to teach classes, when I show up to teach my students, I'm not performing doubles and cool drills with like a 1.5 pound tuned 65 ounce gun, right? I'm not doing magic tricks with like a super secret thing. I'm doing 18, 19 splits on top of each other, doubles with a almost stock Glock. I can take my brain out of my the gear side of things. I don't have to worry about the tuning and then this and the trigger springs and all the recoil springs and all the I just go out and shoot, and it shoots well, and I can just apply it. Now, for the gamers, that's kind of funny. It's like a novelty. They're like, damn, this kid can do all that with a Glock. Well, the reason I stick with this is when I go and teach my SWAT and when I go and teach my force on force people, that's what they're shooting. They're shooting Glock 17s. They're shooting Glock. Actually, my Jersey SWAT guys just all went to 45 with dots on them. So I'm using the same equipment in grandmaster world level competition as these guys are serving warrants with. So they're more apt to then train with me. They're more apt. And I don't mean I'm doing this as a business thing. I'm doing this because I want to bridge the gap between the performance shooting and the tactical guys. And those guys, they don't want to listen to some dude with some fancy 2011 race gun with a compensated port and a frame mounted optic. They don't want to listen to that guy. I'm not saying they shouldn't listen to that guy. I think they should listen to that guy, but they don't want to. They want to listen to what's familiar. This is what's familiar to them, and it works really well. So when I talk to my SWAT guys, when I talk to my combatives, my tribe in Atienza and Sayoc, these guys shoot Glocks. Some of them shoot fancier guns, but most of it always comes back to Glock. So this works for me. It always works. I don't do any internal modifications other than the trigger for that reason. I don't worry about this gun shooting. It goes off. I don't really have a cleaning schedule or maintenance schedule. I will superstitiously clean it before a major. Like I'll just strip it down, give it a good lube, and put it back together. But I don't by any means detail strip, scrub out anything. It just they run, man. They run. They run, they don't stop running. I might drip some lube in there before a match, and they keep running, they keep running. I don't even shoot competition ammo through this. I just shoot Blazer 115 grain, whatever's available to me. I like Blazer 115. I like Cellar and Below 115. I'll shoot 124 grain and get real fancy in competition, but that's really it. I don't bother shooting anything. Now, if I can get a case of Syntec and shoot Syntec, sure, that's great. That's cool, but I don't really care for it. It doesn't, not that I don't care for it. It just doesn't make a difference to me. I've built enough structure and foundation behind my gun that unless you start giving me plus P plus rounds, I don't really feel a difference. So for the gun itself, that pretty much covers everything. I use stock Glock plus handle it grips and a red dot from Vortex. I'll throw a Timney trigger in there. All my magazines are either stock Glock magazines, or if I'm going to add a base pad, I just go Strike Industry aluminum base pads, the +5.6s. This becomes the standard in USPSA or any of these training. It's like a 22 round mag gets you what you need, right? Some guys out there are squeezing a 23rd and 24th in. I'm still working on that. I don't spread over it though. It's not a huge deal. I like the Strike Industries because unlike some other base pads out there, they are $20 to some $40, $50 base pads. They do the exact same thing. They're aluminum. There's no difference. I was a machinist, so I get offended when I see a company out there selling a $50 aluminum hollow block that they stamped with a name on it. And come on, man. Anodizing aluminum doesn't cost $60. Don't be a dick. $20, you got it. Strike Industries gets my money in this all day long. When I get away from the Strike Industries, my fancier base pads are the Taylor Freelance base pads. I just like these because they work well. I like the design. When I shot a 2011 for a season, this is what worked in my 2011, so I just came to like them. Again, all the internals are stock Glock internals. I always keep extra followers and springs around, but I don't even have a schedule for these really, other than in between seasons. When I decide my season's over, I'll throw new springs, new followers on them, and throw the other ones out. That's as crazy as I get. And I'll even say it's probably unnecessary. It's Glocks, and I shoot a bunch. I have the same probably 12 mags in rotation for competition, for training, for this, that, and the other thing. I just maintain them. I won't look at them. I keep 2 or 3 really clean ones for major matches, but everything else I just beat the crap out of. As far as what holds bullets and shoots bullets, that's all the gear that I have, right? That's the only thing I really like to talk about. Stock Glocks, they always work. I like to basically think that it's all on me, right? So what holds this stuff to my body is the next thing I like to talk about. I have been running this Ghost holster for I think about 2 seasons now. Now I've been running Ghost holsters and Ghost magazine pouches for 9 years, 9 seasons. I'm not a sponsor boy. I don't like to shill products. I buy stuff that I believe in. If it works, a couple of years later, I like to send them an email and be like, hey, I really like your stuff. I'd like to recommend it to my students. Can I give them a discount code? That's all. That's my big thing with sponsors. I'm not looking to have them pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want people to believe me when I'm recommending products. I don't want to switch products every year and sound like that kind of guy. So I've been using Ghost since before 2016 Nationals for sure. I have all my original Ghost pouches upstairs, which is cool. This is the upgraded Hydra P Plus rig. The reason I like this setup here is you can go online and buy this right now, done. You don't have to build it. You don't have to worry about what linkage system and what this and what parts and what pieces. Go on, get a belt that's a couple inches bigger than your waist size, get the Hydra P Plus rig, and guess what? You are done and ready to rock. This holster has become my favorite holster for a couple of reasons. I'll start at the holster. It's a really light body. It's very light. It has the scoop design here, the scoop out design here, so that the retention is incredibly fast, what I would describe forward out of the holster. So when I teach people how to draw, what I encourage is I want this gun up, out, and forward as soon as possible. And the way this is designed really allows me to kind of snap the gun up and out on target. So this is my favorite holster design right here. Now it's really light, really easy, and it's got this awesome retention device back here. So I have this nifty little handle right here. Boom. It is retained. Everything would be solid. My middle finger on a draw can release. So the way it looks, let me lock it in for you. The way it looks locked in doesn't look any different. There's this little thingy sticking out right there. You can see it. But look at this. Full retention. You can run around. You could shoot two gun with this all day long. Everything's all good. You couldn't rip it out unless you wanted to break the whole holster. And then if you flick this little thing with your middle finger here, I have a quick draw. Pretty easy, pretty awesome. The other reason I really like this holster is I'll take it off the belt now. Now, for two reasons, I'm going to take it off the belt. I'm going to show you the holster a little bit closer, but I also want you to see how awesome their little attachment systems are here. So the Ghost holster attachment systems are really, really simple. I'm doing it and talking, so it's taking longer than normally would, but all it is this clasp. Boom, hook it on, and this does not move on your belt. I don't know if you've ever used some of the other like Tech Lock brands or anything. When you clamshell stuff on, it generally still slides around a little. It pisses me off, but all of these have no, like, I can't move them if I wanted to. They just won't move. And then it's really simple, as you just saw. You just kind of move these little latches. Boom, lets it go. Boom, back on again. And you could do infinite adjustments. You could take stuff off, put it on, just like you're shooting 3-gun back in the day. Now I have one of their mag pouches with the magnets on it, so that you have the ability to stow and go, keep running. I kind of call it my make ready mag too. It makes it very easy. But IPSC legal, USPSA legal, everything. So you don't have to worry about any of this stuff breaking any rules. I just shot handgun nationals and IPSC nationals like weeks apart with the same rig. Didn't change the location of anything, didn't change anything, and it was absolutely fine. So big fan of these. Now I run the whatever pouches, the 360 pouches that fit Glocks, and I like retention to kind of increase as it goes back. So I have just one little retaining device in here. I have 2 in this one, and I have 3 in this one, just so that it's a little bit stiffer as we go back. You know, you're probably going to reload from your first one, so I don't want a whole lot of retention. If I get to the second one, I'll probably ran my way through a stage a little bit, so that one's going to be retained a little bit more, and et cetera there. I really like they even have their own belt retainer. I have to stop and say why I like that for a second. I think I have a video from 2017 of me shooting mid-Atlantic sectionals, and I took off from a position. I was shooting production, so I had 7 loaded mags in my belt, and my belt fell off. I had a gun in my hand, and my belt peeled off my waist. It was really embarrassing. It was a crappy old belt that I had bought on Amazon. It was before I really got into all this stuff, and I was kind of trying out a bunch of things that worked, and I showed up with a new rig. Bad idea. Belt literally fell off, and I'm holding a gun almost up in the air while I'm trying to stuff my belt back on. So I always have one of these in my belt now. It's superstition. I mean, it's for a real reason, but I won't shoot a match without a belt keeper now. But this is just for my shooter's global timer. We'll talk about that in the future, but very simple belt rig, right? Very easy, like I said, to then put stuff on, take it off. When I fly, I generally take all my gear off. I put it in the middle of this belt. I put it in a Pelican case, and it's real flat. It's not like an awkward belt system. And I can't speak enough for how easy it is to snap this stuff on. And boom, not moving anywhere. Now the holster itself is really cool because it adjusts in 2 different axes here. So you could adjust this almost to infinite angles, to infinite heights and everything. It comes with an aluminum drop down. It comes with this little bumper for your leg there. So again, like I said, you don't have to buy a rig that's kind of cool and then customize. You buy it, it's gonna look exactly like this rig does right now. I'm not dissatisfied with this in any way. There's nothing I'm looking to do to replace this. This is, as far as I'm concerned, done, and all the rest is on me. So there's my belt rig talk. Now, I do have my other belt here. This is my rifle belt. Crazy, right? It's so much different. All it is here is, obviously I don't have a holster. I have a Ghost rifle pouch for 5.56 mags, just normal mags. And again, it's mounted to their very easy to move around and adjust clamshells. So this isn't always configured like this. Typically, I'm not shooting PCC and rifle at the same time. I just have these for an example, but their Ghost pouch is very, very quick, very easy, good retention. Their PCC pouch is interesting because it's kind of like a bottomless pouch with a nice little catch-all for your 33 round or your 50 round mags if you're a super gamer. This typically is right in front of me right here. Mag sticks up this way. When I go to do my reload, it's just snatch and go. I'll insert a video in right here that actually shows the reload capability from this thing. I hit a GM PCC run with this a couple months ago, maybe a month ago. So as you can see, belt works pretty well as long as you work pretty well. So that's why I like Ghost. Same reason I like Glock. I don't think about my gear. Gear always works. I never have to think about, is this gun going to go off? Did I replace my springs? Is it clean? Is it? No, all this stuff works. I set it. I go to the range and back 100 times a day. It all works. I do this full time as far as training, competing, and all this. So literally every day I put on a belt, I take it off, I pick up a gun, I put it down every single day. I find myself shooting, dry firing, training, doing something digitally online and just showing all this stuff. And I don't have time or patience, frankly, to do a lot of gear work. I will maintain my gear all day long. I'm responsible for keeping it clean and tuned, but I don't want to be constantly fixing and chasing issues. Don't have to. Shoot a Glock, shoot Ghost gear. So that brings me through my pistol and my belt, right? The reason I wanted to keep going is I have my PCC and my rifle sitting right here because PCC has become a big thing in our pistol sports, even the pistol sports. USPSA has been infiltrated by the PCC guys, as they think. I say as they think because PCC rules. If you haven't shot it yet, go shoot it. If you think it's easy, go try to win. That's why I like PCC so much. I like rifles. I came from 3-gun. When I lost 3-gun Nation, it kind of just blew up. Take note, USPSA board. When 3-gun Nation, their board screwed everything up and we lost the whole thing and the whole thing went away. We didn't have a chance to shoot rifles anymore. I kept shooting USPSA because it was the other highest end training out there. 3-gun Nation up until that was the hardest and best shooters. They had to be good over 3 guns. Once that went away, I just chose pistol because it's the hardest gun to be good at. USPSA is the way. Started hammering it. I wanted to keep shooting rifle though. Can't shoot 5.56 in USPSA, but at least we got PCC. I love PCC. You get a chance to actually test your ability to throw your long gun around, run and gun with your long gun. It should be easy. It should be simple. It's an easier gun, but all of a sudden it's not, right? So my PCC is an incredibly simple, reliable gun. If you can't tell the theme going on here, I'm not looking for any safe queens. I'm not looking for anything all fancy. I'm looking for stuff that runs like a tool and runs hard. So rifles. I've been shooting modern material rifles for, I want to say, over a decade now. I absolutely love these guys because I'm a Jersey boy. I was born and raised in Jersey. I just moved out to PA. Still have my Jersey roots, and these guys were a Jersey manufacturer. Back when I lived in Jersey, I kind of couldn't believe there's a AR-15 brand being made in Keyport, New Jersey. So went linked up with these guys. They were the coolest guys ever. They also came from the car world, so they really knew how to make and coat things. So they weren't just a couple of goofballs who were trying to just make ARs. They were dudes who understood manufacturing, machining, and things like that. They understood coatings. They understood metallurgy. They understood the things that mattered. And what do you know? Their rifles work. I got rifles upstairs and things that have been probably 8 seasons old, 10 seasons old, that still run, that are still zero, that are still fine. But this is my preference in PCC. This is their Ace 9, as they call it. This is Modern Materials PCC. Their Ace series is basically their higher end series in both 223 and 9mm. So this is their race ready gun. I say that because this is legitimately how you will receive it, other than I change the safety and I put a magwell on it. That's it. You'll get it like this. It will have a race ready trigger in it. It will have a stock that's a good lightweight stock. It comes with a nice little hand stop. It comes with a nice, well, it depends what you want to do with it. You can change out your hand guard if you want, but again, I like stuff that works everywhere. And this gun feels a lot like all the other rifles that you'll see out there. This isn't some super secret plinker that you go out and it's like a carbon fiber, this, that, and it's all fancy skeletonized parts. This looks and feels like all my other ARs that I shot 3-gun with, that I trained with my SWAT guys with, but it runs everything. That's a big thing that all you other PCC guys out there have a hard time backing up. And I'm saying that pretty confidently. I see PCCs choke a lot. We all do. It's kind of like the joke of PCCs. They run when they run, and when they don't, they absolutely fall apart. Not this one. I have run this for 2 seasons now. I have run 110 grain subsonics up through 147 grain, 150 grain Syntech. It runs it. It doesn't choke on ammo. It runs whatever ammo you throw through it in its standard configuration. Because again, I haven't changed it, didn't have to. I could double this thing as fast as you could possibly see. It holds perfect groups out to 100 yards as far as I've tested it so far. It's PCC. I'm not throwing it at 200, but I haven't had any problems with this thing, which I can't report about any other PCCs. There's a couple other brands out there that run well to start and then they crash and burn. There's a couple brands out there that they do run well if you treat them a certain way and keep them this and X and Y, and it's Tuesday and it's sunny outside and whatever, and you run the right amp, whatever. I'm not playing those games. I want to run Blazer 115 because it's cheap and it's there, and this runs Blazer 115 like its job 100% of the time. I don't have problems with this gun at all. I run Glock mags through it. It runs, I mean, little mags obviously, but I run my 33 round mags in this. I have plus 10 base pad on one of my 33 round mags. Otherwise I run stock 33s for this. It works. It works awesome. I am actually between triggers right now. I'm waiting for my Timney trigger to come in because I'm absolutely a slave to Timney triggers right now. I can't find anything better. I'm one of those people. I don't have opinions. I like to test everything, and once something works, that's where I'm going. Timmy rules. Otherwise, this is just a configured like a normal AR-15, right? It doesn't look fancy. It doesn't look crazy for the reason of when I go and show you my next rifle, my normal 2-gun rifle, it's exactly the same. We're cross training. I'm not getting really good on a super weird little light gun that doesn't apply to the guns that I would use in 2-gun or in work or in anything else in clearing, whatever, any fancy tactical stuff you want to get. I can't say enough about Modern Material guns. They run, these guys are awesome. They will support the hell out of you if you need anything done to the rifles, fixed, maintained, whatever. Again, what do I have on top? Vortex. Always Vortex optics. They've done me right. They're the right price. They are absolutely always working. Now it's funny because we talk about occlusion with optics all the time. I actually keep my front lens cap down on this almost all the time so that I could shoot occluded. Just a little fun tip for you guys. That handles the PCC though. Now I was a Jersey boy when I bought this, so guess what? It is neutered. I can't adjust it, but I don't really care. It's in the configuration I want it in anyway. This is how I configure my guns, and I will show you exactly what I mean. Let me go ahead and grab this bad boy. Boom! This would be my 223. This would be my 2-gun rifle, my dual rifle, my sits up in my man room in case the zombies come rifle. I love this gun. Again, Modern Material Ace. It is just a 14-inch configuration. There's nothing fancy about this. This is how you receive it from them. I put optics on it. I didn't do anything else to this gun. This is how you get it. It works. It's amazing. It runs every ammo I found. I run Wolf Gold. It's just that's my burner. I love Wolf Gold. This thing absolutely pukes Wolf Gold into holes on top of itself, no problem. 200 yards sitting there and just repeated quick shots in an AC zone, no problem. This thing absolutely rips it. Again, I was Jersey when I bought this, so it is neutered. It doesn't adjust, but that said, it's the configuration I wanted. If you notice, this is almost the exact same size, shape, and it is the exact same color as my other gun because they're all the same to me. That's it. The only thing is this application is a little bit more capable to reach out and touch people. So I have my Vortex 1 to 10 up top. Really, that's the only big difference between my PCC and this is optical choices. That said, when you have this in 1X and mounted correctly, it works like a red dot. So another big reason I'm stuck with Vortex, I will never betray them. They don't have, there's not a better LPVO out there. There's not a better low power variable optic out there, especially for the price, but there's not a better 1x, true 1x optic that you could shoot like a red dot, straight up to full magnification, no parallax, everything works, the reticles work, the everything about this optic is correct. And then I mean, I shot 3-gun where we used to throw guns around like a monster and nothing broke. But God forbid you do break stuff, they fix it immediately. So somebody who beats the crap out of their guns, beats the crap out of their gear. Vortex wins. I have it in American Defense quick release mount. It's not a riser per se. It's a 173, so it's not up into the 190s. It's not up into the 2-inch mounts. I don't believe in any of that stuff because I don't shoot with gas masks and under knobs, and I don't want to go into the arguments there, but I don't want to screw up my ballistics in lieu of getting a good mount of my gun. Take that for what it's worth. The other thing you'll notice on any gun that I have an LPVO on is I have the ability to roll it into my red dot. I really like having secondary red dots on guns anyway, especially work rifles. I don't have it on gamer guns because if I'm looking for a secondary, I've lost the seconds anyway. I'm not really worried about it. It's a game. Anything that I might be preparing for the worst for, or if I'm training other people with, I love secondary optics on. So I think it's important. I love, this is a Vortex Razor that I have off mounted on there, 45 degree. Super easy. This is actually zeroed from 15 yards and in. That's what its function is for. So this is zeroed at, I think 12 actually. I have it zeroed at if I'm being very specific. This is a typical zero. And I say typical because everybody asks what's the best zero, and I don't have an answer for you because I don't know what you're shooting. I don't know what your mount is on your optic. I don't know any of that stuff. So for me, what I did is ballistic calculator everything. I built this rifle. I put this optic on it. I chose Wolf Gold. I plugged it into Straylock, the app. It's not an ad, just the app that I had on my phone. And I just said, well, based on all of these variables, if I chose a 50-yard zero, what would my hits look like? From 0 to 600 yards, what would it look like? And what I found is at a 50-yard zero, this optic, this mount, this gun, the ammo I mentioned, the reticle didn't correspond with the drops that I wanted. Meaning the dot in the center, sure, it was pretty close to a 50-yard zero. Close enough for government work. The next dash, though, where I wanted it to be 250 or 300, something round number, something I could use, that next dash was like 314. And then the next one was like 372. It wasn't numbers that are easy to remember, and they're not very usable numbers. So I kept going into the ballistic calculator and and I found a 36-yard zero, which is a common one. Now, to be specific, I went 37 just mathematically. Don't worry about being that close. I'm not good enough skill-wise to notice the difference between 1 yard. But I chose a 36-yard zero because ballistically it made sense. When I put a 36-yard zero into this set of variables with my ammo, the red dot was in the center of the target. And then my next drop, when I plugged in, say, what would it look like at 200 yards? There it is, 250, 300, 400. So I chose the zero that corresponded to my gun, my ammo, and my reticle. It's the simplest thing. It's so simple. There is not one right thing. There's not one right thing. Even with the pistol stuff. What's your pistol zero? I run a direct mount pistol optic, so I have a pretty low optic mount. If you are with me, I'd say an 18-yard zero is great. If you're working plates, you have to start working with what ballistic coefficients work for you. So there's not a right answer there, unfortunately, but I will say gear-wise, it makes it very easy to make all these choices if I simply have stuff that works the same way every single time. So Vortex always works, always good stuff. Never find any issues with it. I, again, throw it around, beat the crap out of it. It works all the time. Modern Material shoots every ammo I found. Now, I mentioned I like Wolf Gold, but fact of the matter is sometimes steel and aluminum case stuff pops up for cheap, and I like to train, and I like cheap. This eats all of that. It'll puke right through it. I just don't make it a habit to beat my guns up with crappy ammo. Other than that, you'll notice the big thing for 223 guns, and if you want to see the difference between performance guns and work guns, right here. This is the Loudener. I have a compensator on this gun. It's does the opposite of a flash hider or a suppressor. It makes it unbearable. It is loud and flashy and annoying. What it does for me, though, is reduce the recoil to almost nothing. So I didn't modify the gun. Modern Material is intelligent enough to come with a nice muzzle brake on it and a nice barrel, because those are the two big things that really make a quality rifle, in my opinion. This thing controls more recoil than any other part you can buy. Now I say part you can buy because more than anything, I control the recoil better. But other than that, if you want to purchase something that reduces the recoil on an AR-15, you can get a good muzzle brake. Now, the other big thing that they do that I like, black nitride parts. They have a black nitride bolt that comes with it. They come with a ambidextrous nice latch here, so everything's easy to get. Everything, I actually put ambi stuff on it because I like ambi stuff on all my guns. But as you can see, it is a very easy to use, easy to work gun. Same configuration as any other rifle that I would typically work in. And then you don't think about it. It just works. It works every time. It works the same time. I always have a zeroed, reliable gun that'll run anything I need to run through it. So as far as my gear rundowns go, they're not fancy. As you can tell, my big theme here is it always works. It's not good for one purpose, right? None of this is, well, I bought this lighter spring or this carbon fiber part or this braided recoil spring. I don't care about any of that stuff because you're trying to outbuy your training. I'd rather just train to the edge of performance. And then what did I say as I was shooting my pistol? What did I say at the beginning of this video? When I hit master class, I realized, okay, when I actually hit the edge of performance, I needed that Timney trigger to bridge the last 5%, the last 10%. If you're not at that last 10%, don't buy gear. Buy stuff that works. Stop buying crap that distracts you from training. Dry fire and live fire. That's it. So if you could buy a case of ammo with the gadget you're about to buy, I'd wager buy that case of ammo and dry fire. That's my big thing. Now, can you make your dry fire more efficient? You totally can. First and foremost, I shoot a Glock, so I like dry fire mags. Dry fire mags simply reset my trigger so I can keep shooting. It's a perfect little addition to everything. It just allows me to get more efficient reps. Guess what? It's a one-time purchase. There is no gimmicks to it. It just resets your trigger. It doesn't help you at all. It allows you to get more reps. That's what it does. Boom. So now you can actually do more dry fire. Now, the biggest value to your training that you could ever add would be a timer. If you can get a timer, you need a timer for what you do. Now, I say this timer specifically because this is my Shooters Global. It is the timer for guys who are obsessed with training and obsessed with the process. There's other great ones out there, nothing wrong with them. But as far as a timer goes, this works the same as every other beepy box. It beeps, you hear it beep, you shoot, it captures the noise, and you can go through the data. They all work the same way. The reason I like this one better is it has an infinite amount of variables that you can change if you want to change them. If you want to go in there and change the part time, the sensitivity, the this and that and the other thing, you can do it in this. Now you could do that to a lot of them. The reason I like this is now we can go in and if you could see on the screen, we have a dry practice mode. So I can go into a dry practice mode and set this for indoors. What that means to me is I can now set repetitions. What I do is I put sets in this, sets of 10 typically. So if I'm going to work on my draw, I will set a random delay so that I'm not guessing the beep every time at 2.5 seconds. I'll put a random delay. I'll set my draw time at something spicy like 0.8, 0.9, right? Something to keep myself accountable. And then I'll give myself a pause time between reps of like 5 or 6 seconds so that after each rep, I can take my time going back to my holster. But setting it to 10 repetitions means I could draw, take a shot, reset my gun, stay focused on my target, put my hands back down, and wait for the next beep. I'm not messing with my timer. I'm not doing anything but staying focused. I'm building a system on make ready, stand by, shoot, unload, show clear, make ready. Repetition, 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 repetition. So again, you need one of these to keep yourself accountable, number one. So if you're going to buy something that keeps you accountable, I would say also get something that makes your practice more efficient, something that has a dry mode like I'm describing. Now, the cool thing in their dry mode, they have a smart mode. So no other timer has this. This will pick up your dry trigger clicks. This will pick up anything you make noise doing. You set the sensitivity to the proper volume and you can get your draw speed. You could set it so that you could actually hear the click of you finishing your reload and the click of your trigger afterwards. So you could start getting actual real-time data on all that thing, on all that stuff. And you could do it in repetition. You could do it easily, right? Now, this also has a history in it, so you can go back and change all this stuff. This goes into an app. So you can jump into your phone. You don't need a timer with you if you were dry firing on the road. Say you're in a hotel or you're in your bedroom and your timer's in your truck. You pull up your smartphone. This has a timer smartphone edition. The smartphone app also takes video. So you can video yourself and it will overlay all the timer data. So you can see yourself drawing, see the timer data next to it, do whatever you need to do with that information, right? Change your training, make it more efficient, whatever you need to do. Now, for you guys out there who are coaches as well and match directors or anybody who works in the industry, This has the ability in the app to build stages, build drills, and then not only build them, because it doesn't just build them in 2D, you could build them in 3D, which is a lot different to me. It's not 3D from above. You could build the stage 2D, render it in 3D, and it will give you a 3D walkthrough of the targets as you chose, right? And then not only that, you could use your phone, and like how Pokemon used to work, you use augmented reality mode, and you could cast it looks like you're magically casting the stage onto your coffee table. A little 10-inch by 10-inch version of the stage, and you could actually use your phone to look it through all the angles. And then once that's good, you can go out to your backyard and make it big size. So what I use is I will actually build stages at home while I'm hanging out. My wife's on the computer designing all her artwork that she makes me all these beautiful posters and stuff while she's sitting here on the computer. My art is building stages. I actually will sit there and build stages on my iPad, render the data to 3D, and then I'll go to the range with it later on, and I will look at the stage in a 1-to-1 size ratio. I will walk through an imaginary stage on my iPad and notice, oh, there's a shoot through. Let me change that. All right, let me see. All right, good. Oh, look, I don't like this. This target's available from too many places. I could see it here. So before I even put the stage on the ground, before I drag a single prop out, I've seen how the stage is going to look. I've even timed it out. I've done everything. I have all the data I need other than let's go and run it, right? So it saves me an infinite amount of time building stages. I'm not building a stage and then trying to fix a shoot through by walking back and forth a bunch of times, a little to the left, little to the right. I know exactly where things are going to be. Timer makes it easier for me to go back through data. I can go back to previous runs if I lost data. If I accidentally hit the beeper again, I don't lose all the data. It's all in the history. I have it all here. So this thing would be the way to tie together all the gear that I showed you. It's all the stuff to me. Again, I'm going to go back. I'm not a gear guy. I have to guide my people through gear. It's different. I don't like gear. Like I don't enjoy social media and I don't enjoy cell phones. The fact of the matter is they're part of my life and I need to be efficient with them. I have to understand how they work. I want to be good at using them, but I don't need the newest and latest and greatest if there's not a reason for it. Uh, Same thing with all this stuff. I have stuff that works. I have stuff that works every time. It's buy once, cry once. It's not cheap gear, but it's also not Gucci gear. It's the right price for the right quality. And I I generally, with this attitude, never have buyer's remorse. I'm not jumping sponsors. I've actually found Shooters Global in 2019 before the pandemic. And if you know the story with Shooters Global, they started in Ukraine. And I was with them through the whole Ukraine and Russia invasion and the whole craziness that followed. And I have some of the craziest emails from that guy who was answering me through a war about my timer issue. It was crazy. I give those guys, Ben, you're the man, all the props in the world to how cool you guys were through that thing. Now they're in Poland. All of the supply chain issues are fixed. They're on point, cranking timers out like you wouldn't believe. All these guys are people that I trust. Modern Material guys that I train with Joe, and he's the man. He's one of the local trainers around. I rent my range to that guy, and there's not a lot of guys who I trust just out of my range. Vortex, I've had a personal relationship with them since, like I said, 2013, 2014. These people are all very meaningful to me. They've been a part of my journey in shooting, and I couldn't do what I do without the quality here. Including like my gunsmithing. I got to give a big shout out to Scott. Scott from Impact Machine was the guy who started milling all my optics. And as I mentioned, I was an old machinist. I used to be a precision machinist for a medical and aerospace company. So I knew what good machining and bad machining looked like, which was a curse. Because now when I see all these optics cuts coming back and I see all this stuff coming back from other companies, they worried me. I see a lot of tool marks. I see a lot of crappy work that I would see in amateur machining. Uh, because gun people they weren't machinists. I was blessed to see that stuff. They didn't know better. Well, Scott worked for some very reputable companies in his past, and he said, you know what, I want to do this myself, and I'm going to have a reputable company. And you know what he did? He did that. This is the best gunsmiths out there, the best porting, the best slide cuts, the best anything you can find for any pistol work I've ever done. Scott's the man. I wouldn't be able to get my pistols ready, turned over quickly. He's one of the only guys that cuts Glocks for Venoms for me because he understands what the community needs. He's not going to tell the community everybody needs an acro cut on a ported slide. He's just a real machinist who does real stuff. So there's some guys out there that I really couldn't do a lot of this stuff without. I want a good dot and I want it well mounted on a pistol, but if it wasn't for Vortex and Impact, I could want all I want. So all these guys, they've come with me for a long time. Again, I don't jump ship. I don't add people and subtract people quickly. I am loyal to a fault. So any gear questions you have as far as anything I discussed here, please reach out, message, comment, whatever you need to do. I'm very happy to talk about all this stuff. I like data. I like information. I don't like opinions. So all this stuff is based in data in some way, shape, or form, even if I didn't mention it here. So reach out if you have any questions. Thank you guys for actually sticking around and listening to this gear talk. I know some people are bored to tears by this kind of stuff. I like this kind of stuff as long as it applies to what's real life. So I hope this helps sway you a little bit or give you a little bit of information for setting up your gear in the future. I am very happy to work with all these people. So Modern Material, if you're ever looking to buy a Modern Material rifle, you can go online, you can buy their stuff. CTG10 will get you 10% off them. Shooters Global, Callahan 20 will give you 20% off one of these timers and anything they sell. This is their smart timer. They also have a Go timer, which is a simpler, cheaper timer for you guys who just want to make some noise on the range. All the let's see, my belt, Ghost holsters, their belts, their mag pouches, anything. Callahan 20 gets you 20% off anything you want from them. I stand by all this stuff. If you have any problems with any of the gear, reach out to me. I'll help you fix it. I'll probably give you a tip on how to fix it or whatever it is. I guarantee you I've broken it before. I'm very happy that I get to do all this kind of stuff. Thank you to anybody who's helped me along the way that I have or have not mentioned. But we're gonna keep rocking with this podcast here. So hopefully this educational only podcast for sports purposes reached you well, and YouTube will allow me to keep putting up this content. But have a great day, everybody. Thank you again. Keep training, keep dry firing. Have a great one.